What's up, y'all, and welcome back to the Worship Podcast. Listen, today we're about to unpack something that really needs to be discussed, okay? And when I say this needs to be discussed, it's just because of the simple fact that people have it misconstrued. They have a real misunderstanding as to what the scriptures truly are saying, and I need you to pinpoint exactly what it means. Polygyny and salvation. How can this work in tandem? How does this go hand in hand? How is polygyny a saving grace to men, right? Who need to dwell within it to walk in the spirit of truth. We're going to go over that and more right here, right now. Because, we like to shed light here at the Worship Podcast because light creates understanding. Understanding creates love. Love creates patience. And that patience will create unity. So let's get unified in the spirit.
Is the sheep preaching hate? It says, I'm not going to let the wolf eat me anymore. If the wolf comes in here, next time he comes in here, I'll do whatever I have to do to keep him off my back. Is the sheep violent or is the wolf the violent one? He wasn't teaching hate, he was teaching common sense. Somebody's knocking you over the head, stop him. Do whatever you have to do to stop him. The ones that were knocking him over the head were afraid of the fact that he might swing back. So they said, no, he's teaching hate. He's violent.
All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get this thing rocking and rolling. Listen, the truth sets you free. And you got to know that. It says the truth set you free, not monogamy. And so my thing is this, right? Since the truth is the thing that sets you free, and it's not necessarily monogamy, okay? We need to address the facts within this, okay? Monogamy is not what sets a man free. The way that individuals speak, right, in regards to polygyny, almost as though this is a sinful deed, is appalling to me. Because the same points that they raise for men in a polygynous space is the same things that actively take place in a monogamous space. There's no difference, okay? It's even worse in a monogamous space, Now, when I say the truth will set you free, I'm referring to, scriptures like John 8:32. And when John 8:32 states that, what? And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. When individuals are walking in their truth, it's a level of freedom that is unmatchable. Okay. It's a level of freedom that allows peace within the home. But when individuals want to walk in darkness, okay, and not walk in that truth, not handle things in a righteous manner, those individuals are walking in sin, walking in darkness. Listen, whenever you are in a space and you've committed yourself in a monogamous space and you decide you want to lie about this space, okay, and you want to step outside of that relationship, you are committing what? Sin. And as a man or a husband of your house, right, committing this sin, not only of fornication, but also because you can't take this woman on as a wife. You can't take this woman on and form a covenant with her, a covenant agreement. You can't take her on as a concubine. You can't take her on as anything, okay? Effectively, she will not be anything to you. You understand? You can't take her on in any form, in any fashion, on any level, because you got to keep her hidden. So this is fornication that you're dealing with now. You're fornicating. You're lying. You're being manipulative, cunning, all these things that are not fruits of the spirit and not a personification of the fruits of the spirit. These are all the things you got to be as a man who's dealing in monogamy and you're truly at spirit. You're not that. You know for sure that your spirit, your heart, you want more than one wife. And that's exactly what you would prefer. You might just prefer only two, or you might want to take it to 4. It all depends on who you are. But if you're practicing a monogamous space and you're lying about what you're doing, right, then we know for sure that adds on other sins. That opens you up to other demonic strongholds, right? Next thing you know, you're into all kinds of different crazy stuff. This could happen in a monogamous space as well as a polygynous space with men who lie in polygyny, right? Who pander to other things like fear, and they're fearful in what they're operating in. That can also happen with these men as well. And they can be left onto their own devices as well. But individuals who practice it on a righteous level, righteously, right, understand that they are the type of man who can handle more than just one woman, right, or who has a desire to handle more than one woman. These men are the ones who are able to walk within that truth, as John 8:32 says, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Now, my thing is this, right? We can't argue points of bloodline. We can't argue points of, well, if you're going to practice polygyny, then you have to change out sheets because, nowadays, this is just not our culture anymore. Back then in that culture, of course, we're going to stay historically, they did not have certain things. Women didn't have certain things. So if they were to have their purification, then it would be all over the sheets, right? This is the reason why you had to separate. This is the reason why you had to, move around, because of the simple fact that she would be in her purification. And she would be bleeding everywhere. OK, so she would have to you have to change out these sheets. Right. You'd have to change them out. Nowadays, what do you go do? Go pick up a maxi pad. And ladies, go ahead and pick you up some pads that are 100% organic. Things that do not have chemical byproducts. OK, protect your yoni, protect your life. You understand what I'm saying? So pick up things that are 100% organic. Nowadays, you just got to go pick up some maxi pads. Hallelujah. And we'll take care of that issue. It was an invention called pads of tampons, things like that, right? To help women during their purification month or purification. So now all you got to do is stock up on that for each individual woman. We're not going to have this conversation. We're not going to have this argument in regards to bloodline, in regards to these things, and it being associated with the relationship style polygyny. I don't care the seed of whatever demonic seed or whatever bloodline, the serpent seed, things like that. We can say that, right? But we also can say it and apply it to monogamous spaces, which have the most adulteries, the most fornicators, the most liars, right, that you would come across. Like these individuals who are honestly representing monogamy are all guilty of that, right? But at the same time, they're all agents of Satan, because how are you working and operating in sin actively, but you believe that you're still holy, right? But you can't tell the truth, but you are still a fornicator because you can't take this woman in as a wife, or you can't take her on, right? So you're fornicating. And this is what problem men who have that fall into, is those sins, and it perpetuates more sin. And as a man, you're head of what? Of a family, but you're full of sin. My thing is that living in truth, as John 8:32 states, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Okay, we know that freedom is in truth. So when you're walking in truth, you're walking in freedom. You shouldn't feel bound based on the truth. You shouldn't feel restricted based on the truth. You should be able to feel free because of the truth, right? That's what it is. And the truth is, now, nowhere in the Bible is polygyny ever condemned. Nobody can show it in context. OK, not only that, what we can also say is that there's explicit language in regards to things that have been contrary to us. That is ordinances that are different bylaws that were not for our good, that didn't get us closer to Yah, that it has been explicitly stated that was done away with. That it's been nailed to the tree with the Messiah. I believe that they would make that very clear as well for a relationship style that they feel they need to do away with. But I've already proven my case in regards to who Paul was truly writing to during those times. Greeks and Romans, right? Individuals who just newly came into the faith, right? And learning the ways of Yah. He was writing to Greeks and Romans. And during that time, of course, their society, primary practice of relationship was monogamy. Okay. So he's not going to argue points of monogamy. They're not going to ask him questions in regards to polygyny because their culture is monogamy. So they're not interested in polygyny. Okay. At this time. So I don't believe that they raised any questions in regards to that. Okay. Or they might have already understood the law. Right. Because as Paul said, I speak to those who know the law. Right. They might already stood the law and understood that this is what it is. You understand what I'm saying? When it comes to this particular space, it's not about how many you can get, how many women you can get. It's not about what resources you can provide. It's not about it's not all about money. It's not all about any of these things, right? It's about a man who is able to live out his truth and also be able to build a nation, wealth build, things like that. And if he's looking to do it righteously, the book is not going to condemn him for it. It has not done so, and it will not do so. I don't care how many scriptures you pull. I don't care how you try to twist it and associate this with this and that. It just ain't gonna happen. It just doesn't fit. And individuals who may agree with the points, they need to really truly study the scriptures for what it is and not try to pick it apart in ways where they're wrestling with the scriptures. Read it for what it says. If it says that this woman in time, 7 women will take a hold to one man, right? Saying that we will eat our own food and we'll wear our own apparel, meaning we will provide for ourselves. We just need to take away the reproach, the shame that we are not married. Then those individuals, right? Just take it for that. That's exactly what they're stating and saying, that this time will come. And of course, they're speaking about times like now, where back then, men were the ones who were providing because they were the only ones who could work. They were the only ones who can be able to take anything, right? They're the only ones who can provide and go and work. And women couldn't do that. Nowadays, they're in a position where they can work. They have successful business, successful careers, and they can go out here and provide for themselves as well as a household for themselves. You understand what I'm saying? So it fits the times that we're in right now. In fact, it fits it in such a way that even if once you see it, right, and it says that 7 women should take a hold to one man. Well, these 7 women before were speaking a different language. They were saying that they wanted to be independent women, right, and that they wouldn't join a polygynous relationship. This is what they were speaking of during that time, right? They had a different type of mindset before. And then it changed. It changed to say, you know what? I just want the reproach taken from me. I want the shame to be taken away from me. And so they may have had a change of heart. It's very simple. Yah's not the author of confusion. We're not going to wrestle with the scriptures. If you take a look at Jesus, our Messiah, you see that he said certain things, right? Parables that he would use that reference the Old Testament. And you can go back and read it in the Old Testament. It's laid out right there, right? That was what he did. That's how you do line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, piece it all together, and that you got your answer, right? You don't take certain things from the zenith and try to apply it to something that just doesn't apply to. You understand what I'm saying? You don't take bloodline and try to apply bloodline, right, to a relationship style that was never condemned in the Old or the New Testament. You don't take a serpent seed, right, reference and try to apply serpent seed to just one relationship style. If you're going to apply it to polygyny, you're going to have to apply it to a monogamy, because in monogamous spaces, those men, majority of them, as well as a lot of the women, are fornicators. They are liars. They are manipulators. They are deceivers. And they all are operating within that. It is more common in that space of monogamy than it is in polygyny, where they're all walking in truth and they're all been set free because they can speak, they can talk, they can communicate effectively, they can tell each other how they feel effectively, right? And walking in that truth. A lot of them, majority of them, some of them not so much, right? There's an exception, just as well as there's an exception in monogamy. There's an exception where a few folks are committed and are not under those delusions and sin. You understand what I'm saying? But it's more profound in a monogamous space because a lot of these men are living a lie. Come on now. A lot of these men are living a lie effectively, right? But you want to say that a man who practices polygyny is wicked, right? Is full of lust. Well, what about these monogamous men? You're not speaking of, you're not, oh, shit. Oh, you're not speaking about that. You understand what I'm saying? They're worse than polygynous men. You understand what I mean? A lot of them are. And so my thing is that the ones who shouldn't be practicing it, if they do practice it, listen, there's no control anybody has over it. You can't control that. The Bible doesn't condemn it. So there's no way you can be able to call that out and say it's sin. So that's my biggest thing, right? Is that we need to address things appropriately, okay? We need to address it appropriately. And we need to read the scriptures for what they are and stop trying to apply things that do not apply to this situation, to polygyny. It doesn't fit. It's just not. And if we were in a court of law, you wouldn't be able to raise an argument of seed a serpent as the reason why polygyny shouldn't be a relationship style, or they're full of lust and it's sinful. That's not a legit argument. I need to know exactly what it states in the Bible, where it says that polygyny itself, having multiple wives itself, has been outlawed or banned within the Bible. I don't need to know what it was required for a king to take, as far as wives. I don't need to know what is required for a bishop or somebody who wants to be in a position of leadership to take on wives. I don't need to know when they make references of wife, right, in regards to a man with one wife, whatever. I don't need to know any of that. We've already debunked that. The word one, looking behind the etymology of the word one. What does the word one truly mean? It means at least one in the Greek, in the Hebrew. You understand what I'm saying? So even if we were to look behind some of these words, you're still wrong. You're still wrong. You want to take the version of the translation that you want to take, that you want to keep. And then what do? In return, you say, oh, that was mistranslated. You'll find certain versions that you say, okay, yeah, we don't need to, because that wasn't properly translated. A lot of people fall away because they understand that the Bible has been tampered with at some point and has not been properly translated. I'm telling you now, there's a mistranslation. So we need to stand on the truth of that. There's a mistranslation when it comes to the word one. The word one in the scriptures can also mean at least one. Okay, so let's do that. Like I said, in any relationship model, monogamy, polygyny, it's about the condition of your heart. It is not about anything else other than that. What is the condition of your heart? You understand what I'm saying? In the scriptures it says in Matthew 17, do not allow any man to vex you, to judge you based on what you eat and what day you keep and the washing of your hands. You understand what I'm saying? But you need to be concerned about the conditions of your heart. And that brings me to my next point here, y'all. New merch on sale. Listen, conditions of your heart over traditions of man. Okay, take a look. You know what I'm saying? So got the new hoodie here. This is an oversized hoodie, as well as got the Jesus is King. Let me move this out the way for y'all real quick. as well as got the Jesus is King on the arm sleeve as well. You understand what I'm saying? This is an oversized hoodie, so it's nice and comfortable, y'all. This oversized hoodie is extremely comfortable. You understand? Nicely form fitted, very soft, very, very, very luxurious. You know what I mean? And honestly, these are custom designs. You're not going to find these anywhere else. You know what I mean? You're not going to find these anywhere else. So you're going to be walking around exclusive with the exclusive gear. Representing the conditions of your heart is extremely important, more important than the traditions of men. If I were to take a look, let me go ahead, flip around for y'all real quick. As you can see, and we got it on the back right here as well. As you can see, conditions of your heart over traditions of man. Yeah. So, gonna be representing heavy, right? Representing heavy. I just thought I'd plug that in. I'd plug that in real quick. Oops, I'm about to knock over everything. So, like I said, very soft, very luxurious. You guys would love it. I actually really enjoy this hoodie. Honestly, I like this hoodie more than I like any other hoodie that I've gotten or purchased from anywhere, just because of the simple fact of the way it fits. I'm a decent sized guy, so as you can see, I'm filling this out. This is a 2XL, y'all. So this is a 2XL on me. Okay, 2XL on me. I'm 225 pounds, solid. Nah, 225 pounds solid, right? Yeah. So as you can see, this is an extra large, or 2X. This is a 2XL on me. Okay, this is a 2XL. So you know how it fits. It fits well. It fits well. It fits well. So 2XL on me. You would think I'm fat. I'm not. 2XL. I'm filling out a 2XL. Yeah. But I'm not fat though. Yeah. Either way, we're gonna go ahead and continue on with the conversation, y'all. Let's get back to it, okay? All right, so let's do this. Now, another point I want to make here is Abraham, Jacob, David. We're going to exclude Solomon out of the equation for the simple fact that he had complications due to polygyny, and he was a prime example as to why or what men should avoid if they practiced polygyny, okay, as well as leaders in leadership, what they should avoid. David, of course, said that David's heart was perfect unto Yah, right? Even in polygyny, okay, his heart was perfect unto Yah, regardless on what mistakes he made, okay, he still was deemed to be perfect. Even Yah, right, himself compares his relationship with Israel and Judah to a man, okay, to a man with more than one wife. We're going to go to Ezekiel 23 in order to find this. Ezekiel 23 and Jeremiah 3 will explain these things, okay, that he compared it to a man with more than one wife. And even Jesus himself is a polygynist. He will be coming back to marry 7 churches, 7 brides. You understand what I'm saying? So he is a polygynist himself. He's going to be taking on 7 brides once he returns. Multiple brides. That's right. Jesus, the Messiah, will be taking on multiple brides. Once he returns, there'll be 7 churches, 7 brides that he'll be taking hold of, as it states in Revelation. Now, when a man has a righteous desire for more than one woman and suppresses it to fit into a false culture box, right? It opens up the doors for lust, for adultery, for double lives. You understand what I'm saying? Rather than lie, cheat, and fornicate, a righteous man can what? Establish truth based on who he is, based on a covenant marriage with multiple women. You understand what I'm saying? Because he's lying effectively. He can't do anything to take on this other woman. She's got to be a secret, right? He's got to tiptoe. It is what it is. Multiple women, just as the patriarchs did. Just as the patriarchs did. It was never condemned in the Bible. I need something that explicitly states that that has been condemned. You understand what I'm saying? Now, one thing that I will say is the level of lust. If you really want to see how you can do self-control, then you will put yourself in a space of polygyny, right? And then you operate in self-control there when it comes to lust, when it comes to all these other things, right? I would think it'll be like more of a challenge. Do you not? Right? But in a monogamous space, you can obviously easily harness more than just one sin and one demonic force all at the same time, just because of the simple fact that your lifestyle, double lives and all this other stuff is a fact, is a truth, is a reality. Okay. And it's more profound and it's more abundant than it is in any other relationship style. Okay. It just is what it is. Monogamy is effectively one of the relationship styles that have plagued our society currently now, as many men and women who step out on each other and also lie to each other, right? Fornicate, do things like this that are not of Yah. Okay. It's not of the Most High. Would you believe that he would want you to be more transparent and honest? Or would you believe that he would want you to operate like you do in monogamous spaces, like they do in monogamous spaces actively to this day, and how they divorce, remarry, a serial polygyny style, right? That has no ties to the old partners, but it's still happening. You're still doing it, right? A divorce, remarry style. Whereas to where, of course, in polygyny, that right there is you're looking for that to remain final, right? Into the foreseeable future. That is not something you're looking for divorce, remarriage, blah, 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 blah. Right? You can, of course, write a bill of divorce if you needed to for somebody who's not operating within the right capacity. Right? But either way, that's not the culture for it. Okay. And typically, a lot of those the relationships for polygyny, they don't end in divorce. A lot of them don't. Majority of them are fairly successful. I believe 68% of monogamous marriages, the percentage may have went down since, but 68% of monogamous marriages end in divorce. Okay, 68%. The odds are pretty high compared to, I believe, polygyny. It's about 54%. I would take a 54% over 68% any day. You understand what I'm saying? But a lot of these individuals are operating within facts and truth. And truth will set free, right? As we just read over in John. So now, false monogamy breeds hidden sin. Okay, false monogamy breeds hidden sin. I don't know how many of you want to live in sin out there. I don't know how many of you want to live in not live a truth, right, within your life and be free. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know how many of you how many of you men would want to operate in this way. When you look at another woman, right, that you got to be self-conscious, or you got to be kind of mindful or fearful that your wife is going to be upset with you or be angry about it. You understand what I'm saying? Me personally had my own personal relationship as to where I know the difference between a monogamous space and the polygyny space, right? And in a monogamous space, if there's a waitress who's hitting on me actively, then that woman who's accepted polygyny, who enjoys the space of polygyny, she typically would engage with that and say in a positive way. Whereas where a woman who's got a monogamous Western mindset, she would engage with that and seeing that in a very negative way. And this is something that's happened to me, right? Regardless on who I tell and how I tell them up front, is still a thing. Okay, it's still a thing as to where that Western monogamous mindset will still creep in, and you'll still be judged based on that standard rather than what your true culture is, which is polygyny. Okay, you won't be judged under those lights. You'll be judged under the lights in the magnifying glass of society, of a monogamous culture, right? And you'll be held to those standards. So when a waitress comes and she's flirting actively with me directly and she's sitting right in front of it, then she gets she takes it personal, regardless on if I'm engaging with her in the flirtation or not, which of course in that case I wasn't actively engaging in that, but I wasn't stopping it either. Let's keep it real. Okay. I wasn't stopping it either. And the woman knew that I was not a monogamous man. So this has actively happened to me before. Okay. And I'm telling you what's happened to me, what I've experienced before. Okay. So I've experienced that. And in the monogamous space, of course, I've experienced individuals who've hit on me, and it was received in a positive way. In fact, even speaking to them in regards to what do you think about, what do you think about this shit? Hey, can you let's see what's up with her. Let's see what we can, you know what I'm saying? See what she on, and just checking in and see what the sister's about. Like that type of, I guess, communication, right, and transparency is difficult to overcome for a lot of women, right? My thing is that it's a challenge for a lot of women to have to face another woman in their space, and it really speaks to where she's at spiritually, where she's currently at spiritually, and where she needs to grow and develop. This is the reason why it's so important, not only for women but also men, because it really exposes flaws, right? And where you need to grow. Me personally, when I was practicing in a polygynous marriage, right, a polygynous space, I literally learned better communication. You understand what I'm saying? I learned better communication. I learned how to address and talk to other women in regards to my relationship style, right? I learned that, these things are extremely important, especially when it comes to communication. I was able to grow a lot, mature a lot in those ways. You understand what I mean? Getting rid of a lot of different mindset. Honestly, there's no point in going back in any other way. But as a man, I was challenged in those ways to be a better man today, a more honest man, a man who can walk more upright. Okay, who can walk with a little bit more integrity, right? And so that's what it helped me do. Okay, that's what it brought out of me. You know what I mean? And honestly, till this day, it's still one of the best styles of relationship that I've ever indulged in. Okay, that I've ever actually kept. And the reason why I say that is because I believe that me and who I am actually, blossomed in that space. Okay. So let me keep it real. Not only that, the men's testosterone, his drive, his motivation, all these things are things that honestly that help him thrive, right? And dealing with multiple women at once boost those things for him, right? A lot of men who honestly at heart and genetically practice this relationship style. Okay, so let's keep that in there and in perspective. Everything that you would say about polygyny that is negative, that are cons, can be applied to monogamy, and you can apply it times 2, times 10. You understand what I'm saying? Everything you say can be applied to a monogamous space. A man with one wife, times 10. A lot of those individuals are not faithful, and a lot of them are infidels. You understand what I'm saying? Right? And they are fornicators. Okay. Not only that, in a monogamous space, there is nothing that really sparks that relationship to keep the women on track as to what's important. So a lot of women start to get really bored, and they start to kind of step out on a man too, right? And so now we've committed adultery. We got an adulteress, lying, cheating, backstabbing, manipulative woman, and also a man who's lying and cheating and backstabbing and manipulative. Now we created this toxic environment that is well known within a monogamous form of relationship. In a polygyny style relationship, this woman's going to be too busy competing with her sister wife and trying to please her husband and be sure she catches the eyes of her husband. And it's going to be too much to do. It's going to be too much to focus on. It's not going to be enough time to sit there and say, I'm bored. I prefer to go out and find somebody else. Right. because not only is man being satisfied in many ways, so are the women. And understanding that they have a level of competition, but also love for for their sister wife, right? But there's still going to be competition there. And understanding how to deal with that competition, understanding how to deal with those problems, you can easily just read the scriptures and see how they dealt with it here in the word. This is the reason why they wrote it. But also there's plenty of gurus who can help you out here, who's doing polygyny, actively practicing polygyny righteously. Take Pastor Rufus for an example. We got other men out here as well, who are also practicing it righteously, in a righteous manner. Okay. Not in wickedness, a righteous manner. Right. False monogamy breeds hidden sin. Now we're going to go to Galatians 6:7. Okay. Galatians 6:7 says, be not deceived. Yah is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Now, we've seen it over and over. Men of Yah. Listen, my thing is this, right? Men of Yah marry one woman, okay? Men of Yah marry one woman, only to later fall into temptation. Okay, only to later fall into temptation, infidelity, okay, and scandals within the church. Why? Because the system of forced monogamy would be a problem. It does not honor, right, the nature of a righteous desire to have multiple women. It does not fulfill that for them, right? The righteous desire to have multiple women. This is forced monogamy. Okay. We're going to go to Proverbs 28:13. He that covereth his sin shall not prosper, but whosoever confesseth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. Okay. But whosoever covereth and forsaketh them shall have mercy. He that covereth his sin shall not prosper. Okay. This is what I'm saying. In a monogamous space, they're too busy hiding. They're too busy covering up their sins. They're too busy covering up all of their transgressions and iniquities. And they're too busy hiding it. And they will not prosper in this. But a man who forsakes that, okay, a man who walks in the righteousness of his truth, okay, in the righteousness of his truth, these individuals will have mercy, right? These individuals have mercy. All right. Let's continue, y'all. Let's continue. Righteous polygyny also a man so righteous polygyny allows a man to walk in truth. Okay. Righteous polygyny allows a man to walk in truth, not hide in sin. It allows women to know their true position. Okay. Not as side pieces. Where's the term come from? A side piece comes from a monogamous space, right? A side piece, a side chick comes from a monogamous space, right? Exactly. That's exactly where it comes from. It don't come from polygyny. A lot of these terms don't come from polygyny. It comes from monogamy. You understand what I'm saying? Because there's no covenant agreement. And this individual is just creeping around, okay? Hoping to one day become the main squeeze. But they're the side piece for now, hoping that the man would leave and divorce their current wife, his happy home, right? His family that he has at the crib. He loves this girl, but he damn sure gonna go bang this one. You understand what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But he can love them both. This is what it is in monogamous space. Loves this one, but he's going to go bang this one. But he still loves her at the crib. Why not allow these men to practice and openly practice polygyny? That way they can be able to keep multiple women, right? And not have to discard one for the other, breaking up happy homes for another woman. You understand what I'm saying? So these individuals, right, in polygyny, they're not side pieces, right? they have an opportunity to become respected wives, righteously. You know what I mean? We're not going to twist and warp the scriptures and get it to fit whatever our belief system is. We need to keep it simple. We need to keep it plain. Polygyny was practiced by righteous men, and we know this, right? And it was never condemned in the scriptures. Let's be honest, right? Let's be honest, right? If polygyny was a sin, why did Yah bless these patriarchs? Why did he bless Jacob? Why did he bless David? Why did he bless Abraham? If this is truly a sin, why did he do it? That's what we need to know. Abraham had Hagar, right? And Sarah. Both were wives. And Yah blessed both their children. Genesis 16, 17. Okay. Genesis 16 and 17. Jacob had Leah and Rachel plus their handmaids. Okay. From them, the 12 tribes of Israel came. Okay. One of the most powerful dynasties to show up as well within the Hebrew community. Okay. Genesis 29:30 is where you can find that. 29 through 30. Okay. Now, David had many wives, and Yah said nothing against it, right? His multiple wives only rebuked him for taking another man's wife. That's 2 Samuel 12:8 through 9. In fact, he slew the man, the Hittite, and took his wife. And that was something that was disobedient to the Most High Yah. So Yah actually judged David for his disobedience. Okay, that was a judgment from Yah, not a curse from Nathan. It was a judgment from the Most High Yah, as Nathan prophesied that judgment. Okay, and thus saith Yahweh means this is a judgment from Yah. Okay. Solomon had too many wives and let them turn his heart away, as to where it depicted David's heart as being perfect, regardless on how many wives and handmaidens he had, or how many wives he had. His heart was still perfect to the Most High Yah. Whereas to where it's explicitly stated that in 1 Kings 11:4 that Solomon's heart was turned away from Yah, and that was his downfall. Okay. And I gave 3 thy masters, right? And it says, I gave 3 thy masters' house, and thy masters' wives. Hold on. Wait, let me go ahead and pop this up on the screen for you guys as well. Okay. Let me see where we at. Boom. Now, all right. And I gave thee thy master's house and thy master's wives into thy bosom. And if that had been too little, I would moreover have given unto thee such and such things. Listen, he's telling him here in 2 Samuel 12:8 that, hey, I've given you all these things, all these wives. And if that wasn't enough, I would have given you more. Why did you have to sleep with Bathsheba? I told you not to do it. Why did you have to slew the Hittite and take his wife as your own and impregnate her? I would have given you more. I've given you these wives, and I would have given you more if you needed it, right? He would have given them more wives. You know what I'm saying? But he just didn't want him slewing the Hittite and taking his wife Bathsheba. Yah himself says he gave David his wives. How could it be sin if the Most High Yah has given those wives to David? Explain that to me. Women are not oppressed in righteous polygyny. Okay, they are what protected. In modern culture, women are left raising children alone a lot of times, while men jump from bed to bed. Righteous polygyny offers structure, protection, all right, structure, protection, and community. Okay, structure, protection, and community. Each wife is known, respected, and covered by a righteous man. Okay, we're gonna go to Exodus 21:10, right? Exodus 21:10. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. That's a covering. They're being covered now, right? Living in truth, right? We're gonna live in truth. Living in truth is a prerequisite to salvation. Okay, living in truth is a prerequisite to salvation. Wherefore, putting away lying, speaking every man truth, which is freedom, with his neighbor, right? To be saved, we must walk in the light, not in the lies. A man who secretly steps out on his wife hides lust or other demonic strongholds like fornication, a manipulation, adultery in some cases. Okay, lives, this double life, right? And lives. Okay, and this individual lives a double life, walking in the darkness. So they're walking completely in the darkness. Okay, they are walking completely in the darkness. Polygyny done righteously. Once again, done righteously, removes that darkness. It brings honesty into the home, order into the home, clarity into the covenant. Okay, it's not for every man. We're not going to say it is. It's not for everybody. It's not for every man. If you're too emotionally unstable, if you're double-minded in all your ways, if you're a type of man who don't have a plan for these women for a future, to be sure that you plan in the future to where they're safe and secure. You understand what I mean? This is not something you need to go down and practice. If you're a man who has extreme lust issues, if you have lust issues and a problem with lust, you need not to deal with polygyny. You don't need to deal with monogamy. You need to go repent and get your heart right. You understand what I'm saying? You need to just be single until you can find peace in your spirit. So any relationship you shouldn't be trying to find if you're dealing with any of these situations. Okay. And that's just flat out. That's just flat the hell out. Let's keep it real. Conclusion. Let's go. It's time, and the time will come where 7 women would take a hold of one man and saying that they will provide all of their own needs. Let's keep that a buck. Thy word is a light, is a lamp unto my feet. And what? This is Psalms 119, 105. Thy word is a light is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path. Monogamy isn't the problem. Fake monogamy is. Okay, I'm not going to paint that broad brush. Fake monogamy is the problem in society right now. The world says the world says one man, one woman, but the word shows us the etymology of it in the Hebrew, which means at least one man, at least one woman. Okay. And when they speak about the roles and saying that a man is responsible for this woman and a woman is responsible for the man, it means that they have duties and obligations to each other, no matter how many there are in this relationship. Okay. Now, my thing is this, right? When you show this, right, and you say this, they completely gloss right over it. They don't even address it because they cannot argue with it. They can't rebut it. Once they do the research, when they do the homework, it will read exactly what I'm saying. Okay? That's what I'm trying to tell you. If we're going to walk, right, in salvation, we must walk in truth. You understand what I'm saying? We must walk in the light. Let the word light your path, okay? Not culture. not religion, not traditions. If Yah allowed polygyny and never condemned it explicitly in the Bible, New and Old Testament, old and new, who are we to call it sin? We can call it sin in every relationship style. You understand what I'm saying? Righteous polygyny, okay? Righteous polygyny. Righteous polygyny isn't about lust. It's about legacy, truth, structure, and salvation. It's about a man owning his desires in righteousness and being able to be honest with the women he loves. You understand? And a woman stepping into a family built and on truth and honor. Don't do it if you don't want truth and honor. If you prefer to deal with a wicked ass man in the world who's going to lie, who's going to fornicate, who's going to do all this shit, right? Then go deal with him. Be underneath a wicked man and allow him to lead you down a wicked path. That is the lot in life that you would choose. Don't let the tradition rob you of your salvation. Okay? Live in truth. Walk in the word. And build something eternal. Build something eternal. Live in your truth. Walk in the word. Build something eternal, y'all. This is what you ought to do. This is what you ought to do. Now, that's all I got for you guys here today. I appreciate you guys coming in the Worship Podcast. Don't forget to go and get you about 50 of these joints minimum. You understand what I'm saying? Walk around here in love, reminding people to know the condition of your heart is what truly matters. Okay? The condition of your heart. The condition of your heart is what truly matters. You need to exemplify the fruits of the Spirit. We don't care about the labor. We don't care about what you're building on your little land. We don't care about any of those things. What is in your heart? The condition of it. What's the condition of it? What's the fruit of the Spirit looking like? You understand what I'm saying? That's going to take precedence over the traditions of men. As you can see, get you about 50 of them joints minimum. Okay. You know, you already know we got it written on the back. We got it written on the back as well. Over traditions of man. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, very comfortable hoodie, y'all. Very comfortable. You know, like I said, get you about 50 of them joints minimum. Don't forget to like this video, y'all. Comment and subscribe. Holla at your boy. You understand what I'm saying? This is another episode on polygyny, debunking some of these things that some of these other individuals are saying. They can't come with some real facts. They can't come with no real truth. You understand what I'm saying? That will match up to exactly what I've been putting out, was just the word. Go straight to what it says. Read what it says. Take it for what it says and keep it moving. Listen, this is your host, Barack. I appreciate you guys joining me here for the Worship Podcast, and I am out. Peace and shalom.